Hi my loves, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Welcome if you guys are new. It's the end of the month, which means we're going to be talking about all the books I read in October. I feel like I say this every month, but October was a crazy reading month. When I was going through all the books and like piling them up, I was like, the start of October feels so incredibly long away. I can't believe that I read these books at the beginning of the month. I thought that was like 3 months ago. So as I said, a crazy reading month, some real highs, some not that lows, but like some interesting books. And I am happy to say that I read almost all the books on my TBR this month, so I'm very proud of myself. We read a total of 9 books in the month of October. 5 of those books were fantasy, 1 was sci-fi, 2 were romance, and 1 was a thriller. So we had a nice range of books this month, which I am very happy about. But we're going to jump straight into it because we have a lot of books to get through and I have a lot of thoughts to share with you guys. So we started the month pretty intense with Alchemized by Senlin Yu. I feel like this broke the internet in a matter of days. It was quite crazy, especially for a debut author. I feel like I had a very different experience reading Alchemized compared to a lot of people. While this author has like other works, this was my first time reading them. And I will say, absolutely love the writing style. The writing style of this was really easy to read. This is a thick book and it was so easy to get through. If you don't know what Alchemized is about, please look up trigger warnings before you go in. We do deal with some heavy content. We're following Helena, who is part of a rebel force, but unfortunately they have lost the war. So we're set in this post-war world and she is basically a prisoner. She is one of the only remaining rebels from this war, so they have kind of taken her in to try and get as much information as they can from her. Overall, I rated this a 4 stars. So my main critiques of this book was the fact that for me, it felt like a second book in a series. I didn't know why our characters were so passionate about what they were doing, about their motives behind things. I needed to know more history on our characters. I needed to know more about why they were doing what they were doing, because without that, some of the actions I felt like just didn't make a lot of sense. I feel like if I had known a little bit more lore about the past war and political forces and our key characters that were mentioned so many times throughout the book that were really present in the war, I feel like if I knew more about them, I would know more about Helena as a main protagonist. I would understand her more and understand her motives. She was a great protagonist. I did really enjoy reading about her, but I just felt like I could have had more depth to her and then I would have been a little bit more emotionally connected. I loved Kane as a character. I thought the fact that we didn't know a lot about him really worked. The pacing of this book was really interesting as well. We have a really interesting kind of time jump or layout of the time. We are basically split into 3 separate parts. A big part of our main protagonist is that she doesn't remember anything. She doesn't remember much of how they lost the war. So she doesn't really know why she's getting taken prisoner. So we definitely delve into that amnesia trope a lot, which I did really enjoy. I love the amnesia trope. I think it makes you hooked. Like you just want to know what happened. I do understand why people love this. I think if I connected with the characters a little bit more, I would have loved it. It just felt like a second book in a series to me, which is crazy because it's so long. And I don't know, I'd say I'd want more of it. I don't think you could make this much longer, but I just wanted a little more history. I wanted a little bit more lore to our world. We did get a bit of a glimpse into the magic system, which I really enjoyed, and it's basically based off alchemy and necromancy. So that was really fascinating to me. I really liked the magic system, very different to anything I've read before. And you know me, I love a good unique magic system. So the actual world I was really fascinated by. To be honest, I wanted more world building, just because I loved it. Like I loved our world. Also though, I don't know if this is entirely fair because I went in with expectations like up here and I don't know if anything could have reached that, to be honest. I really got influenced by BookTok on this one and it really preset my expectations of how much I was going to love this book. And I don't think that's fair because when I go in with such high expectations, it doesn't always live up to it. And that was definitely the case for this. It was still good. Guys, 4 stars is an incredible rating. I think I went in with unfair expectation. The next book I read was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I was terrified to read this, guys. It hasn't even been on my TBR for very long, but it's just so outside my comfort zone. So this is a sci-fi book. All you need to know about this book is that we are following our main protagonist who wakes up on a spaceship and doesn't remember why he's there or how he got there. So again, amnesia trope, there's a common theme here, but that was amazing. I loved it. This book was incredible, okay? A 4.75 star rating from me. The writing was the funniest writing I have ever experienced. I cannot wait to read more by Andy Weir. I know he wrote The Martian as well, so I'm really wanting to read that. But this writing, oh my god, I am obsessed. I cannot tell you how good it is. This is a book I think I could recommend to absolutely anyone and anyone would enjoy it. We have very limited characters, but oh my god, I love our characters. This is also a book that I'm really excited to see adapted into screen because I think it'll play really well. And our main protagonist is going to be played by Ryan Gosling, so I think that is the perfect fit. I am so excited to see this adapted into film. The plot was amazing. I was hooked the entire time. I was curious to see where we were going. I didn't get the 5-star feeling from it, which is literally the only reason business, not a 5 stars. Like, I didn't get that giddy feeling that I do get with a 5-star read, so it wasn't for that reason, but that is literally it. I don't even have anything else to critique about it, and I think that's because I'm new to the genre. Also, I've been realizing this month that delving into new genres is so much fun because you don't know what's coming. You don't know what to expect. Because you don't read this genre very much, you don't know what the typical plot line is. I feel like with romantasy, which I'll get into later in the video, pretty easy to pick up the general plot, and it's more you're there for the characters. Whether this, I was there for the characters. I loved them to bits, but I was also here for the plot because I didn't know where this was going. I absolutely loved it. Nothing bad to say about it. All I can say is go in as blind as you can. Don't watch the trailer for the movie before you go into this because it kind of spoils a bit. And even if you don't read sci-fi, like, I cannot suggest this enough. Next, I read Wildcard by Elsie Silver. Well, I actually listened to this all on audiobook, and this is my first time listening to a book purely on audio. I have always kind of either immersive read with audiobooks or switched in and out, so like audiobook to physical book. I have never purely listened to a book on audio. So this was my first month doing that, and I really enjoyed it. So this is the 4th book in the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. It is a small town kind of country cowboy romance series. In this book, we are following Gwen, and this is a really interesting trope that I usually wouldn't gravitate towards, and that is ex-boyfriend's dad. It makes more sense when you read it, considering the circumstances. Like, he didn't know that he had this son. He had him when he was really young, and he basically gets told. The ages work, I think. It's definitely still an age gap, but I think it works. However, I will say I think this was my least favorite book in the Rose Hill series I've read so far. These books I just kind of read for fun though. I read them for a brain break, and listening to this was actually really fun. Like, it was a really fun audiobook to listen to, especially going on your little hot girl walks. Like, but I just wasn't obsessed with this situation. Basically, Gwen, and I'm literally having a blank on the main protagonist's name, the guy protagonist, but Gwen and our guy protagonist, they meet at an airport and spend this one incredible night together, but then they don't talk because of like miscommunicating contact details, and then something happens and it's kind of close proximity type situation. I did really love seeing our characters from the past Rose Hill books in this. That was an element I love. I feel like Elsie Silver always does an interconnected series so well. It's always fun to see your characters appear again, but I don't know, something about the way our characters were described, it felt a little bit shallow. They had 2 very strong hobbies. So Gwen is a yoga teacher, and the guy protagonist, whose name I can't remember for the life of me, was a firefighter. I feel like his storyline was fine, but there was something about the way that I do a lot of yoga. I take a lot of yoga classes, and there was something about the way that Gwen's yoga was described and her passion was described that felt, I don't know, it felt very like, oh, I'm just gonna Google what an easy yoga pose is and throw it in there, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it, but to me it felt a little bit shallow, I guess, a little less researched. I don't know, maybe that's just because like the yoga I take is very different. I have a different experience, who knows, but that was my experience reading it, so that definitely hindered my kind of connection to her as a character, although I did like aspects of her a lot. So I gave this one a 3 stars. It was easy, it was fun, it was a fun audiobook to listen to, it was really entertaining to walk to, and I definitely was hooked. Like, I wanted to keep listening to it, but it wasn't my favorite in the series. This part of the month I just read a bunch of really short books, you'll be able to tell. Next, I read The Intruder by Frey McFadden. You guys know that when Frey McFadden comes out with a new thriller, I will be reading it. She is probably one of my favorite thriller authors, purely because I never really guess where her plots are going, and they're just really great, fun thrillers, especially for this time of the year. Like, we were in spooky season. It was the perfect time for me to be reading her thrillers, so I honestly always enjoy reading her books. I never rate thrillers extremely high, but I feel like that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy them because I keep going back to them. It's just that their plot never wows me. They're more there for, I want to read a book in a night and sit down and cozy up in my bed. I'm gonna pick up thriller. They're my kind of go-to books. Same with like romance books. Like, they're my little brain breaks. I'm just gonna have fun. It's like watching a TV show or something like that. That's what they're for me. So I gave this one a 3.5 stars. Not my favorite by her, but basically our main protagonist has had a bit of a life-altering situation, and she has decided to take a break from her job as a teacher and live pretty much out in the woods. Almost a self-sustainable lifestyle, except not really, because she couldn't quite do that. So she's just living very remotely. They get a warning that a massive storm is coming in, and she's really worried because her house isn't the stablest house in the world. And then stuff starts to happen. I'm not going to say too much more because I went in pretty blind and I thought that was really good, and that definitely, I think, enhanced my experience of it because I've seen some different reviews on this. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. I had a really good time. I don't have too much to say on this one, honestly. I just thought it was really easy and fun to read. There was actually a few plot twists. I saw 1 or 2 coming, but then like the main one caught me off guard. So that's always a win for me. When it's in this like abandoned setting and there's only so many possibilities of what can happen, I really like that because your mind is just reeling and it's trying to figure it out. I don't know. It was very high stakes, very high action, and I was very, very much gripped from the beginning. The next book we read in the month of October was People Watching by Hannah Bottom Young. I have only read one of Hannah Bottom Young's books before, and that was Out on a Limb, and I absolutely loved it. So I was really excited when this one came out because it's just like, look at that cover. The cover in itself, amazing. I loved it. I read this one really, really quickly, like I think in less than 24 hours. So a very easy, fast romance read, but I gave this one a 3 stars. I personally loved our characters, but I didn't like the romance line in this. We are following Prudence, who lives in a very small town, and she has kind of given up a lot of her life to be taking care of her mum who has Alzheimer's. So she lives a very routine day-to-day kind of life, just looking after her mum. Then Milo comes along, whose family owns a brewery right next door to Prudence. When they meet, they have this instant kind of connection, but they decide to just keep it kind of casual, do almost a friends with benefits type thing on Prue's request, because when you read it, it kind of makes more sense as to why she requested that. But I will say that trope in itself, like a friends with benefits type situation, is not my favorite trope, especially when it's this short of a book. I feel like it feels so rushed. Like there is so much spice so early on. And I don't mind spice, but I do love a slow burn. Like I love a build up to it. I want strong connection before. So for that reason, this trope doesn't always do it for me. It's not always gonna get me. As I said, I did really like our characters. I think they were really great. I loved the atmosphere of this being in a small, cozy town. Very, very autumn, very cozy. You could just snuggle up and like very atmospheric. I didn't like the romance line in this. I didn't like it at all, to be honest. I couldn't decide on Milo as a character either. I really liked him as a person, but then his like romantic side, I guess, was a little bit off for me. I don't know. I've seen some people really love this book though, so I really do think it's personal preference. I think it'll go either way, but some people have loved this book, like a 5-star read easily for them. So do with that what you will. You might love this book. Who knows? I then finally went on to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Guys, this book has been on my TBR for way, way, way too long, and you kept telling me that I was gonna love this book, and for some reason, I've just always been a bit intimidated by it, so I kind of just kept putting it off for like a long time, but I finally did it. I finally read it. This was a 5-star read. This was one of the best books I've ever read. I'm obsessed with V. Schwab. I have read the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by her. Loved it. One of my favorite trilogies. But her writing in this was like a different version of her, and I loved it. You could tell we were still in a V. Schwab world. There were definitely elements of her writing that, you know, you were familiar with, but it just felt so lyrical and dynamic and just wonderful to read. We initially are set in the 1700s, 1714, and we are following Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with this dark magical person to be free and have no one hold her back and have more time in her life. But in the devil's point of view, that translates to live forever and be remembered by none. So she is basically immortal, and we follow her throughout her life. We're kind of set in one main timeline, which is 2014, but then we have flashbacks to her past and kind of the stories that led her to 2014, if that makes sense, that shape her as a character. I loved Addie as a character. I haven't connected to a character this much in a long, long time. I thought she was absolutely perfect. There is nothing I would change about her. The romance line in this was beautiful. Also throughout this, we have this kind of mention of different artworks like this. A reason I love this is because I'm a massive art nerd. I absolutely love art history. I love going to galleries. So this was really, really fun for me to have that kind of added creative element in there. The world was great. The writing was great. The characters were great. Nothing I can say that is wrong with this book, and the ending to me was haunting. Like that last line was absolutely haunting. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I read it. So yeah, 5 stars, super, super easy decision for me. I'm just gonna say it now. We had 2 5-star reads back to back in this month. I have never been so obsessed with a book. No, I have, but not in a long time. When I tell you this is a 6-star read for me, this knocked it out of the park. I was not ready to be this obsessed, but James Islington, who wrote Will of the Many, is an absolute genius. Again, this book has been really terrifying me on my TBR for a long time because it's a super long book. Like it's a chunky book, but every single second of this book is worth it. Every word is worth it. The plot of this book and like our characters' decisions is very much based on political system of this world. So we have this hierarchy system. The highest people receive the most will from people. Will is like mental and physical power, essentially. The lower you are on this pyramid, the less will you have because your will goes up and the people above you you receive it and receive that strength. However, I did learn as I was going through this book that you can gain will and lose will. So you can go up and down these ranks depending on what you do. We are following our protagonist Viz, who is an orphan, but one day gets adopted by this quite highly ranked family, and they want to put him into an academy that will train him to be basically a political leader, a really strong political leader. But an aspect I loved about this plot was the fact that you didn't know what was going on. There was so many unknowns that like the character purposely withholding from you. And I love that. Like, it makes me so intrigued in the plot. I will say it took me, I'm not even kidding, like 150 to 200 pages to understand this world. It takes a long time to wrap your head around what is going on, and it doesn't really give you a second to ease into this world. There is action straight away. You have to really switch your brain on, but when I tell you, it is so worth it. Every single second of that, switching your brain on, using your brain to understand this very complicated political system is so worth it. I mean, I had Jamie to help me understand the system, which really, really helped. But yeah, you can always like look it up and stuff, but it is so worth it. Like, if you were just trying to push through those pages, like just keep pushing, just keep going. It's amazing. It's really, really worth it. There is not one single thing I can say that I didn't like about this book. The ending, if you guys have seen my vlog, I literally was staring at the wall. Like, I had to cut 3 minutes from that vlog of me just staring there being like, because I genuinely didn't understand what I just read, and I had to reread it, and then I had to look up the ending explained, because I truly was like, what, how? I've never been left so baffled from a book before, and I am so excited for the next book to come out. I am so happy that I read it now and don't have to wait an entire year for the next book to come out, because it comes out very, very soon. So obsessed, obsessed, obsessed. You all need to read this absolutely immediately. Also, fun fact, I usually don't like first person present tense writing. Usually I hate it. There's another book that I read this month that I didn't enjoy it in, but I actually like didn't mind it at all, if not loved it in this book, and I was so confused by it. I think because we were from such like a smart protagonist, it worked that it was in present tense first person, because you just didn't know what was going to happen. It kind of added to that sense of like unknowingness, and anything could happen. There are so many possibilities because it's like the present moment. I definitely want to read more by James Islington as well. I think he is a great author. He's also Australian, which is really fun. The next book I read in the month of October was Diebound. I had heard so many incredible things about this book, so I had quite high expectations going in. I will say straight off the bat, I don't think it was fair to any book, but especially to this one, that I read it after Addie LaRue and The Will of the Many, because my expectations had just been blown out of the park for those two books. So I kind of went off this really strong high, and I just don't think that book lived up to this. But like, can any book live up to that? Like, that wasn't fair. So Diebound, we are following our main protagonist Marin, who is basically looking after her sick mum and sister. She's kind of the sole caregiver, and then her sister one day goes missing. So there are these people in this world called, I think they're called Nabbers from memory, and she knows about them. So she thinks her best chance of getting her sister back is going to find them by joining the soldiers and basically being a soldier on the front line. There is a war that's been going on, I think, for 300 years or something in this world. So she thinks her best chance of finding her sister is becoming a frontline soldier. To do this though, you have to go through different trials, and you have to make sure that you are not part of the bonded. The bonded are basically soldiers that can bond with direwolves, so they become a lot more powerful. And if you aren't a bonded, you go onto the frontline soldiers, and if you are a bonded, you obviously stay with your direwolf and train with your direwolf. Marin doesn't want to be a bonded, she just wants to go find her sister, but she has to participate in these trials. Anyway, I really liked the world of this. I loved the world, I love the direwolves. I truly love an animal aspect, an animal companion in books. Like, that's probably one of my favorite added elements to fantasy books. This is definitely a romantasy. The romance was really strong, and I didn't like the romance line. I'm so sorry, but that's what took me out of it a lot. I knew this trope so well, and I knew what was going to happen with the romance, so it just kind of wasn't like a shock for me. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then there was this other thing that happened in the end that was very, very typical that I've read in a lot of books. So the actual plot felt very done. Like, I feel like I've seen and I've read this plot many a time. So for that reason, I don't know, I didn't love it as much as I could have, I think, but I still would recommend it. Like, I gave it a 3.75. I think it's a really good romantasy, as long as you know that romance is a really strong element in it. It's a really fun, fast-paced kind of romantasy, very easy to read. Like, I sped through this, and like, I do love a good trials. As I said, I love a good animal aspect in it. Yeah, there was a lot of like fun aspects about it, but just a lot that I'd read before. So I think it really depends on the reader for this one. You may absolutely love it. You may just kind of be like, oh yeah, it was okay, like me. I think it really just depends where you're at in your reading journey, what you're wanting in your reading journey. And I think I'm really starting to gravitate a lot more towards like high fantasy kind of books, just because I find them less predictable. I love some really strong world building, and I think I'm just gravitating towards that more. Also, if my eyeline keeps changing, I had a few comments saying you would love it if I looked more at the like actual lens rather than the tiny screen next to me. I look at the screen to make sure the lighting stays okay. So if my eyes kind of do this, That's because I'm just making sure the lighting is okay. Anyway, this is like a 50-50 for me. I think it was a good, fun kind of read. I don't think it was anything absolutely incredible and jaw-dropping. Like, I also just didn't love the main protagonist or the love interest. I really liked the side characters. That hinders it as well. So yeah. Anyway, thoughts were a little bit scrambled for this one, but that was my ramble about it. And then the last book I read in the month of October was Hot for the Slayer, something like that, by Ali Hazelwood. This is just a little Ali Hazelwood novella. A bunch of romance authors like Christina Lauren, Ali Hazelwood, I think Abby Jimenez, they all do these little novellas for different times of the year. So we have Christmas ones, we have Valentine's Day ones, and then they did Halloween collection. So I really wanted to read this just because I have been loving Ali Hazelwood recently, and this was just a really kind of fun way to like end the month. To be honest, I actually thought I would finish my other book, but I still have about 100 pages left, and that is Warbreaker. So I was going to include it in this, and then I was like, no, it's like the last day. I'm not gonna rush it. I want to like take my time. So that'll be in next month's wrap up, but that's what I'm reading at the moment. But yeah, Hot for the Slayer is just a really fun like vampire romance, enemies to lovers, little 100-page novella. So that's really fun to read if you're looking for like some kind of, I don't know, you want another spooky read, or just like a little shout out for like, we're going into Christmas period. So if you want to read the Christmas novellas around this time, they're really fun as well. If you've got Kindle, like it's really great to just download them and read it in a night. It makes you feel really accomplished. It's just a fun little cute novella. And I do think it takes a lot of work to write like a good short novella where you still feel the chemistry, you still like the characters in such a short time period. I think that's a real good skill in itself. I've read some really novellas, and I've read some really great novellas where you feel the chemistry in literally 100 pages and you're like, yep, it makes sense that they're together. And these are really fun ways to kind of just end your month or break up your reads. So yeah, they were the books I read in the month of October. Pretty interesting reading month, pretty up and down, but like we had some insane reads. Let me know what your top read of the month was, as usual, if you've watched till the end. I love reading your comments and getting recommendations from you, seeing what books you guys have been reading, especially if you read a book that I recommend and then love it. That makes me so happy. Literally, I'm like, great, I'm doing my job well. So yeah, thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you made it this far though, it truly means the absolute world to me. I hope you had a good reading month. I hope you have some good reads lined up for the month of November. Again, thank you for watching to the end, and I will see you in my next video.